Do you see a kinetic action happening in the next 48 hours?
Will it serve the purpose? And if so, what the day after? Who's going to come?
If he's removed, if he's out there, decapitation strike by America, say for example, what are the options for the Iranian people? Who will they rally behind? Will it be Raza Pahlavi? Will it be IRGC? Someone in the IRGC? Will it be someone within the clerical class? Or will it be someone in the Iranian army?
It has to be someone in the Iranian system. I would include all of them, all the institutions you've identified. Why not a president? Maybe we'll not have a regime change.
Yes.
I say we may have a change within the regime. This is what the people in Iran are saying. Neither Gaza nor Lebanon. I want to live for Iran.
The strongmen that were there in the region, whether Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, Bashar al-Assad, these are strong men. You remove them and decapitation strikes, the regime falls under them. How is Iran different?
Not going to happen. This is a regime which has strong institutions. It's got a strong network of officer cadre, the troops. I mean, it's not some regime you can just overthrow and expect something new like you did with Saddam Hussein in Iraq.
New set of sanctions on countries doing business with Iran.
De-dollarization is the main objective of the United States. Any country who has changed their system of selling not by the dollars, they are targeted. Any attack on Iran has to take a military invasion and boot on the ground. The American pampering Pakistan has something to do with the Iran.
The assumption is that a violent strike will take out the supreme leader.
Yes.
No.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Today on the podcast, we discuss all things Iran, its impact on India and the rest of the world. My guests today are Gaddam Dharmendra, former Indian Foreign Service officer who joined the service in 1990 and served in senior diplomatic roles for over 3 decades. He was India's ambassador to Iran from 2019 to 2023. He's known for his strong understanding of West Asian geopolitics, sanctions regimes and regional diplomacy. Also on the podcast is Dr. Waiel Awwad, Syrian-born journalist based in New Delhi, who analyzes Middle East affairs. He is reported from several war zones. During the 2003 American invasion of Iraq, he was caught in an ambush while covering the conflict and narrowly escaped execution. Joining me in the podcast today is my colleague at ANI, Ishan Prakash. Ambassador Dharmendra, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. Dr. Awwad, finally you are in the ANI podcast. Like you've been with ANI for like decades now, so it just feels you're one of us. And I think most Indians who interact with you feel aap hamare hain.
Bilkul.
Right? Ishan, thank you for being part of the podcast too. So I'm going to begin with you, Ambassador Dharmendra. I wish it had been in happier times that we were talking, but the conflict in Iran, I want to talk about that. At the time of filing this report, shooting this episode, in fact, it will be aired in a couple of days. But, there are unconfirmed reports and that thousands have been killed, maimed on the streets of Tehran and all the districts by now. By security forces in Iran. There are also very disturbing reports. Some of the doctors in Tehran speaking to doctors in the US surreptitiously saying that we are treating some of the victims in the dark, in the shadow. Their records are being kept withheld because if the regime gets their records, those protesters will be put behind bars and they could be I don't know what could happen to them. Like, I don't want to say the worst. And then now there is the talk about the hanging of one of the protesters, which could happen. How are you seeing all this panning out? And do you see a kinetic action happening in the next 48 hours, which is what most American networks are saying?
First, thank you for having me on the show. I've been watching your episodes with great interest for a long time.
Thank you.
And I wish we had met in happier times. I agree with you. And last couple of months after the June incidents, the 12-day war, I was very much out of the news. Iran was out of the news. So likewise, I was also out of the news. And post-Christmas, all this blew up. And the context is basically the collapse of the economy due to the US sanctions and the wide-scale disgruntlement in the society. And it's been long pending. It's always been there. It takes a little fuse to set it off. And this time the traders, the bazaris went on strike. And that got amplified.
The shopkeepers.
The shopkeepers. And they're very famous. They're very, they're very powerful. They're very influential people.
Very, they talk just like, going to Janpat or Linking Road, Bandra. The way they speak, I've been to Tehran's
The
bazaars.
Grand Bazaar.
Yeah, they have a very genial way, and they interact very nicely with Indians.
Very
That's
polite.
the spine
Very
of the
polite.
economy
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Yes.
Iran.
Yeah.
So that triggered this off, and now what we have is there was a bit of a lull in between and then a spike, and the country's under total lockdown. Internet and international communications have all been cut off. So information is trickling out, and I also read somewhere incredibly that the Starlink platform has also been disabled.
Yes.
Through some kind of military-grade technology. So information is coming out in trickles. We are seeing these grisly videos of people. Several thousands...
Starlink and Cloudflare, both I think have
Several
been put
thousands, I believe, have been killed across the country. Many thousands detained. I think we are in the middle of a very critical phase. It's a tipping point now where it goes because
So
it's
will there
become
be
a
like
mass
that
movement.
one incident which could trigger a kinetic action? Do you think that one hanging of one protester or sudden fire on a bunch of protesters? Do you think there's that one incident which could tip off a kinetic action?
Kinetic action by the US?
By the US, yes.
Well, we'll have to see because Trump has been speaking from both sides. He did threaten kinetic action right in the beginning. He said, if something, we are locked and loaded, as he said.
Yeah.
And then he's done nothing.
No, he said help is on its way, just 24 hours back.
Yep.
Not even
And then he said that they've also sent messages for talks, the Iranians. So, with Trump, we are always unpredictable.
He suspended talks now.
But as Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has reported to have said, he said we would explore all non-kinetic options.
Okay.
See, kinetic
He spoke to
options,
Axios.
kinetic
He reported on this,
options, you need a target, you need an objective. Here we have a mass movement. It's an uprising. What are you going to hit? You're going to hit the IRGC headquarters? What's it going to serve? You're going to hit the Basij headquarters? What's it going to serve? These are the targets, potential targets being talked about. Now, Iran's neighbors, particularly Saudi Arabia and Oman, have also been advocating against kinetic action.
Right.
This may tip the population push them into a corner. Because the regime will be pushed into a corner. And then they've already taken very harsh measures. It's a brutal suppression of unarmed demonstrations. And they have no resort to weapons or anything except for few in the border areas. So I think we'll have to see exactly what the Americans want, how they would want to achieve their objectives, and how the regime is going to respond, because they've threatened they're going to attack. They said we're going to do preemptive strikes.
Right.
Then later we came to know that Israel sent a message through the Russians to the Iranians that we are not going to do anything, so you don't do anything. Now, is this just to lull them into some sense of complacency and then step up the actions? Because if you remember last June, when we had Operation Midnight Hammer, Trump said we are going to talk to the Iranians. And then within 48 hours, he launched strikes on the nuclear facilities. So kinetic action, will it serve the purpose? And if so, what the day after? Who's going to come in? Who is going to take over? Is it going to be the Crown Prince? Or is it going to be someone...
waiting?
Well, but is he accepted by the people? Because the monarchy memories remain, Smita. People remember the monarch days.
You served there. So do
I
they
served
talk
there
about
twice.
it? Yes.
So, they're critical of the monarch days also. Even the middle class who are critical of the present regime, they're also critical of the monarch. I mean, remember the Savak, the Shah's secret police,
Yes.
was
brutal.
as brutal as these guys.
True.
And again, those days we didn't have internet connectivity.
But they dismantled. It's 30
Well,
years?
it's been taken over by Etalat. It's a new intelligence or whatever, their deep this thing. It's 47 years.
47.
Next month, we're going to enter 48th year.
Yeah.
And this is a regime which has strong institutions. It's got a strong network of officer cadre, the troops. I mean, it's not some regime you can just overthrow and expect something new like you did with Saddam Hussein in Iraq.
Right.
And if you remember, let's not forget Ahmed Chalabi,
Yeah.
the Iraqi, pretender to succeed Saddam Hussein. That was a disaster.
Yeah, Dr. Awwad, you have, before I come to you, Ishan, Dr. Awwad had a brush with the authorities while covering Iraq.
Yeah, it was
tell us about that story and then go on to Iran.
Oh yeah, that needs a book which is coming up. Actually, I'm writing the book on the
Never mind,
factual.
Dr. Awwad. You can tell me a little bit about
Okay,
it.
I encourage you to buy the book then.
You can come back.
Yeah, I was embedded with the American troops when we were taken into with the American troops. It was the first time that they used the term embedded journalist, and we were 2003 went with the American to Iraq invasions, and then I was captured. I ran away from captivity, and I ran away. I was escaping the death sentence by Saddam Hussein regime. Then I managed to come back to my country and India. In fact, I came to India, not to my Syria country, because my family were in India, so I had to come back to India. So it was a tragic story, and everything was carried out by the American. I start from what ambassadors have spoken at the end. American regime change by force. That was the policy of the American. They have been carried out even in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, Yugoslavia, name it, Libya, Yemen, Sudan. Even American have been always advocating of regime change by force. That's the policy, right? So when President Trump came, he said, I'm against this policy. I'm not going to implement it. Here you go. You see another president of Trump, the second tenure, that he is a different person who is advocating war, according to his own. He understands there is no international law. He thinks that he is above the international law. He can do the unilateralism and exceptionalism in
Are
the
you
American
surprised,
policy.
Dr. Awwad?
I'm not surprised. I tell you something. If had come from any other country, if the people of Iran wanted the change, I'm with the Iranian people because I traveled Iran extensively. That's one point. But let us remember 1953. Mossadegh was elected by the people of Iran democratically. Who toppled him?
The CIA.
The CIA and the MI6.
Operation
And Mossad.
Ajax.
And they created the havoc with the Safag in Iran, and where the people, millions of Iranians were killed, jailed, and ambassador will agree with me on this. That is why the hatred was against. The problem was the aspiration of the people of Iran was for a better life, for freedom, for everything. But then it came with the Khamenei regime, and they hijacked it also with the movement, and it became an Islamic Republic 1979. The first things they have done, they closed the Israel embassy, they opened a Palestinian embassy. It became an anti-Iran, anti-American, anti-Israel. So that is this starting. So therefore, a regime change in Iran is always on the card. It's a legitimate demonstration. They have a problem. There is inflation. There is unemployment. There is a currency problem. But in Iran, till now, it's not a revolution. This is not a revolution. What is a revolution actually? If we speak of revolution or regime change. Revolution, when you want the whole system to be changed, you want it to replace with another system. Look at my country, for example.
Syria.
I mean, the Gulf country, everybody said that we have spent billions of dollars, more than $2,000 billion was spent to topple the regime. Even the former Prime Minister of Qatar, Hamad bin Jassim, he said it on the BBC interview. So the regime change in Iran was started in 2006. And exactly when the UN started implementing the sanctions on Iran. And those sanctions, this is meant the similar replica of what they have done in Iraq. In Iraq, they did the same thing. Sanction, oil for food, and then the middle class collapsed, and totally the people were ready to accept even the evil, to just finish the regime of Saddam Hussein. And now they're saying, we wish that Saddam Hussein is still alive. So you don't think that in this kind of a changes for a betterment of the people. So when America speak of democracy and wanted to change and go and hijack a Venezuelan president and his wife and attack them, and you expect him to be the president of Venezuela, he wanted to be the president of Nigeria, Greenland, Libya, Algeria, and also Iran. So God knows, maybe India in the near future.
Oh, please.
You never expect. He can do anything.
Awwad Sahab.
I'm telling you, he can do anything. You expect everything from him.
Ishan,
Yes,
you have
Ambassador, I have a question for you. But before that, since he's said so much, I just want to crystallize it a little bit more over here. Now, realistically, going by these protests and the region in general in West Asia, do you think countries like Saudi Arabia, Oman, can they afford a destabilized Iran, especially well, if something like this would happen, I would expect oil prices to spike. I would expect the Strait of Hormuz to also have an issue whether or not it'll be open. Don't you think that these countries have extensive lobbying power now to talk to the Trump administration and not go for some sort of a kinetic action which could decapitate the Khamenei leadership, and maybe then, lurch the country into a crisis that could have wide geopolitical ramifications? So I know that Saudi Arabia and all, they have the issues with Iran, they have the issues with the nuclear policy, but do they want a destabilized non-Khomeini Iran where the future is up in the air? Who takes over? And an IRGC could take over, which could be completely against Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely. This is a very important question you raise. And in fact, this is why the worry of the GCC countries. They are very worried about an American attack. America is thousands of miles away from Iran. So what will happen? Who will suffer? They are the first sufferer, the first stakeholders. In fact, the Iranians have sent a strong message to all the GCC country that any fire from an American base in those countries, they will be a legitimate target for the Iranian. So therefore, they know that if this fire starts, it will be immediately in West Asia will burn the whole country, and Strait of Hormuz will close, the Red Sea will close, and then you will have the Sinai Peninsula, the Sinai Canal is also will close. You have 14% of the global trade at risk. You have the oil, 60% of Indian oil and the rest of Asia buying from the Gulf country is also at risk. So who's gaining? America first. MAGA. Make America great, because that's what President Trump wanted. President Trump didn't come out of the blue. He's just implementing what the military industrial lobby of the United States wanted to do in this region. And then there are more than 70,000 American troops are residing in the Gulf country. They will be a legitimate target. He cannot go for a war. Trust me on this. We have seen the demonstration in 2009. We have seen it in 2019. We have seen it in 2022. This time it is the largest. It's the biggest because economy. But do anybody speak about electricity? It is 24 hours electricity supply in Iran. I'm not supportive of the regime, by the way. I'm just simply giving you fact, because that is where we need to state the fact. We do not have to go with the Western narrative of their media, because they wanted to attack Iran, legitimize it, so American president can please Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. That's the strategy. America, if you look at the commonality between America and Iran, you will find there are so much of common between them rather than their opposite. It was the watchdog for the American interest in the GCC during Shah time, immediately after the Islamic Revolution. So Islamic Revolution came anti-Israel, and Israel wanted to make sure that all these countries neighboring Israel are dismantled, disintegrated, and no military threat to Israel's existence. So therefore, it's not, let us remember something, that it's not the Iranian revolution or regime wanted to change. It is the total destruction of the infrastructure of Iran has to go by the American. Why they didn't do it in Venezuela? Because they were kept intact. They just took the president, they are ruling it. In Iran, it is their ballistic missile technology, it's their nuclear technology, it's the scientists, the same thing they have done to Iraq. They killed all the Iraqi scientists, then they controlled the oil, and you cannot sell anything but the American dollars.
But Ishan, if you remember,
yes,
the Saudis, I mentioned it earlier, reports are that the Saudis and the Omanis have advocated not undertaking kinetic attacks.
So, Ambassador, this
may backfire.
Yeah, so, Ambassador, this is the quandary that 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue right now is looking at. You have, on one hand, the Israelis who are advocating action. Netanyahu was in the White House during the New Year, I think December 29th. He was there.
2 days before the 2 days before the outbreak of the protests.
So they have one section over there, and President Trump has also sort of painted himself into a corner where he's saying help is on the way, and you have U.S. senators like Lindsey Graham, the so-called neocons over there, also pushing for some sort of kinetic action. On the other hand, you have people like the Saudis and the larger West Asian countries over there who have oil interests, and they have an interest in a stable West Asia. So when you weigh both of this, in your considered education, speculation, what do you think would be Trump's decision as we sit over here?
Oh, difficult to say, but let me just make one comment. What do the people of Iran want? As our colleague said, they're fed up of the system. They want change. But how desperate do they want instability? They've seen Iraq, they've seen Syria, they've seen Afghanistan.
Libya, yeah.
And, the vast middle of Iran is suffering. Well, they've been suffering for 45 plus years. Soon after the 79 revolution, when the hijab was made mandatory, The women went out on the street protesting Khomeiни's decision. That continues, that kind of, anti-establishment, get into the street and assert yourself, that persists. But I like to say there is an elasticity between the ruled and the rulers. The ruled will push to a limit and then pull back. So we are also getting reports, not from the West, from within Iran, that there is calm now in Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, the big cities. People are just going to the morgues, like you mentioned, collecting their killed, their beloved, and shouting death to Khomeini. That slogans continue. But at the same time, the regime also, if you remember in the first week, post-December 28th, the regime was also assessing how big this is going to be. They didn't immediately step into the streets. It's only when it spurted, then internet lockdown and anything. Now, I expect maybe perhaps, like I said, it's very fluid. We may be at a tipping point. Can go either which way. But the people don't want instability. I think the Iranian people don't want instability. They do not lack for electricity. Food supplies are available. Healthcare is a fantastic healthcare system. They're like us.
Despite
terrific.
sanctions.
Despite 47 years of US sanctions. The country is not isolated.
Yeah.
It continues to, let's say, thrive. It can do. The potential is enormous. Yeah. Enormous potential of the people. They are very tech savvy. The youth now find desperate. 2022, the anti-hijab riots started as a social movement against mandatory hijab and the death of that poor girl, Mahsa Amini. And then it quickly morphed into political. 2019 November, we had fuel strikes. There was a proposal to hike petrol prices. Soon morphed into political. This time we have an economic issue, the collapse of the rial against the US dollar.
Ambassador, this is where I want you to juxtapose, because now the only thing I can think of is the fall of Mossadegh that happened. That was also started with the bazaris, the trading class also, wealthy class did the protests. Over here also we are seeing the wealthy class doing the protests.
But keep one thing in mind.
But explain the ferocity of these protests.
Leaderless protests.
Well, we don't know how ferocious the Mossadegh protests were. Yeah. But there, the people rallied around the flag. It was a nationalist movement. Mossadegh was replaced by who? The Shah was brought back.
Yes.
And people, they said, what have we done?
Is Reza Pahlavi going to come back now?
No way. This doesn't have a support. And besides, look at the American. I mean, when Shah of Iran was this.
But we've seen that happening in Afghanistan and all this.
Let me just give it. I mean, why are you trusting the American? I mean, the Shah of Iran, when he was displaced by his own people, they didn't even receive him in the United States. But for God's sake, he had to take shelter in Egypt and in France, his family. So that means they have no interest. Are they really going to promote democracy? We have seen from the Arab Spring 2011 what they have done with the rest of the Arab world. There is nothing in Iran that they wanted to bring democracy. But Iranian people are 65% of the Iranian are youth, and they are very energetic, and they will rally. 12 days of attack on Iran by Israel and America have made the people rally behind the government, and that is what is the agenda.
Not Khamenei, but government.
The government now.
The country.
Now, yes. You see, what is the agenda? Let us talk. What is the agenda for them? Are they wanted to hijab? They wanted to have the lesbian type of marriage, internal marriage. Topic is not related to the society. It's nothing to do with them. I mean, what topic are you fighting? You wanted to change the regime because you're fed up with the Islamic Republic? Okay, fair enough. But is it an America or Israel are replacement for you to come back? No. But any Iranian you ask, even opposition, I'm daily debating with the opposition. They say, no, we don't want anybody. We want only this regime has to go, okay, but we will settle our house in order.
I think.
Is anybody going to ask, Ambassador?
No, what opposition? What opposition are you talking
Nobody's
about?
asking the people.
Do you not? When we talk about the credibility of Reza Pahlavi, isn't he the most credible opposition currently against Khamenei?
No. He is absolutely he's only promoted by the American. Same of the Shah, the king of the son of the king of the Afghanistan. When they wanted to topple Bin Laden, they sent him with cases of dollars to go and bribe the tribe leaders there and warlords. This is a game plan.
No, I think
yes,
I think the important point is what day after. Like if you have a regime change, and like I said, the institutions are strong. They're well established, well organized. It's not that you can just displace it as happened in Iraq. Iraq, there was a wholesale change in the system. Saddam and everybody, the military, there was a purge.
Yeah.
In Iran, you can't have a purge. It did
Why?
not happen in 79. See, Khomeini, when he landed from France, within the first week, the Iranian army changed sides and welcomed Khomeini and vowed support to Khomeini, which did not stop him from still executing some of their senior officers.
Oh, he killed many of them.
Then they started the IRGC as a counter to the Artesh, the regular army.
But I believe the IRGC is now on the
regular
streets.
guards.
IRGC is on the streets in the West.
Huh.
The playbook goes something like
Somewhat
this.
similar to what
There's a
happened.
Persian area and then there's the non-Persian areas. In the Persian areas, it's usually the police and the anti-riot troops, where the engagement is a little more softy. I mean, it's harsh, but not as brutal as we
compared
see
to
in the
the
Kurdish areas.
Okay.
The Kurdish areas also have arms coming in from Iraq. So there the IRGC is much more in play. It happened in 2022. It's happening again now. We are not getting reports of number of deaths. And like you mentioned,
These are humanitarian groups
These
because
are-
nobody really can identify
They are motivated
how many
also.
dead. Yeah, so
Some of them are
nobody
padded
knows.
numbers
So
as
when
well.
we
Both sides have lost
when we
life.
look at the system cannot be thrown away with baby and the bathwater.
Excellent. Just to zoom out
So
on what you
maybe
said.
we'll not have a regime change.
Yes.
I say we may have a change within the regime.
Exactly.
Because the regime is not uniform.
Yes.
There are factions.
There's a
there
devolution
are
of powers
moderates.
over there, yes.
Masood Pezeshkian, the present president, is an Azeri, and he's a moderate.
Yeah.
Before him was Raisi, who was a hardliner. Before him was Rouhani, who was again a pragmatist, during which time we concluded the nuclear deal, and Iran was preparing to open up to the world. And then Donald Trump comes and tears up
And
the
he
treaty.
tears up the treaty. Yes,
And
yes.
reimposes sanctions. So if the Iranians say, can we trust you, the Americans, they have a point. I mean, it's a fact.
If you zoom
so-
out and you see the leaders around the strongmen that were there in the region, whether Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, Bashar al-Assad, these are strongmen. You remove them and decapitation strikes, the regime falls under
Correct.
them.
Not
How
gonna
is
happen.
Iran different?
Not going to happen.
Different.
Not going to happen.
Explain how they're different.
Well, each province has a governor.
Yeah.
There's a clear governing structure. Like we have chief ministers, they have a governor. If you visit a province, it's very well governed. There's a municipality, there's healthcare services, there's an education system. You may not agree with the syllabus, but there's an education system. There you don't see destitutes and poor on the streets. Very few beggars. There is a vast middle class, frustrated, angry, economically waiting to get out. But the private sector is suppressed because the IRGC accumulates all the contracts, right? So there is that divide,
Discontent, yeah.
disconnect, but by and large, you can drive from Bandar Abbas to Tabriz without a hitch.
Let me add one
The
point
roads
here.
are excellent.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic logistics supply network. Despite the US sanctions,
Yeah.
Right, go ahead.
trade keeps going up and down.
I think there's an important point he raised here because there is a division within the government. There are hardliner and moderators. The hardliner are trying to take over the moderator, and even the president himself, and in the parliament as well. They have warned
Factions.
the hardliners that do not put the people under tremendous pressure. Let us ease the economic pressure on them and accommodate their demands. Otherwise, Iran is gone. So I think that message have already spread among the public. There are already the demonstration has been contained, by the way, and even the Israelis are thinking again that this sort of demonstration will not topple the regime, because when Netanyahu went to the White House and promised President Trump, the moment we attack Iran, the regime will fall apart. Didn't happen in the 12 days. Now they realize, even the American administration having rift with the Netanyahu, that is not going to happen. So now forget about attacking Iran. Forget about it. There is no question of toppling the regime at any of this stage. It is 1.5 million square kilometers territories. You have thousands of ballistic rock missile around Iran. They can attack, and this time they are attacking with precise what target they have told the American and the Israelis. And by the way, the foreign minister of Oman traveled all the way to Tehran. It was on the behest of the American, because they wanted a backdoor diplomacy that these things have happened. We are not going to attack. And the Iranian, I can assure you, within 24 hours they can make the nuclear bomb. And if Israel is thinking of using any nuclear bomb against the Iranian, they will retaliate with the same spoon. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're saying Iran, I've heard that statement. It was a threat, essentially, that we are nuclear capable in 24 hours. statements from nuclear watchdogs, the IEA, all of them, they're saying that Iran hadn't reached that level of enrichment. You're saying they've reached that level of enrichment?
They have reached, once you cross the thresholds of the 50 to 60% of enrichment uranium, you can manufacture a nuclear bomb. That's a rate. But the Iranians have made it very clear they are not. But after the American attack, as I said, why North Korea should trust the American? Why Iranians should trust the American like they did in Libya and Iraq? Nobody is trusting the American. The American have their agenda, their objective. The Iranian have their own system to follow, and they will not succumb to the pressure, neither by the American nor by the Israel. Trust me on this. I have been following it daily. I know American president is unpredictable, but this time if he is attacked, Iranian definitely will go all the way
What
up.
is the backroom diplomacy that GCC is doing, if they are at all?
Qatar is doing, Oman is doing, the United States, even approaching these countries, even approaching the Russian. By the way, even they approached the Russian, they just wanted this not to escalate and not to attack. Even when they attack Qatar American military base, they were begging to the Iranian not to attack, and they warned them beforehand. They empty it. And the same thing they attack in Iraq, the American base when American killed Qasemi, and the Iraqi person of the Hashd al-Shabi Popular Front. The same thing they attack, and they attack in a very strong, ferocious manner. So the American knows the power of Iran. So as I said, it is de-dollarization is the main objective of the United States. Any country who has changed their system of selling not by the dollars, they are targeted. Take it Venezuela, take it in from Iraq, take it in Iran. That is a part of the attack and destabilizing of BRICS, by the way. That is the whole concept. It's a wider perspective. Don't let us look at it from a regional angle. I think we need to see a wider perspective. It's a conflict between the superpowers. And Iran is a geopolitically important for all the country. The north-south corridors, India, the Indian routes, you have to go to Russia, for China, America itself. So it's a huge country, and neighboring countries is full of gas, oil, minerals, and America cannot leave it to China, to India, to Iran.
Ambassador, since Dr. Awwad has already spoken about India, can you tell us from the Indian foreign policy perspective, now new set of sanctions on countries doing business with Iran?
25%.
Right. So now tell us how it's going to impact upon India, and how do you see this going forward? Can
I just comment on the nuclear issue?
Absolutely.
I think, Ihsan, we have to keep in mind what happened last June. The bunker busters used, 16 bunker busters used in Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan, the main centers. Post after that, the Iranians have not granted any access to the IAEA. It's all under rubble. That seems to be the main theory, that there's nothing there. For them to reconstitute their enrichment program, which they are hanging on to, they are saying zero, and we are not going down zero enrichment to the Americans. You don't have enrichment anymore. It's been bombed.
Right.
So you have to now rejig your negotiation positions. You can't say all or nothing. And that's the Iranian hardline position. We will not compromise. You can't have perpetual resistance. You are living in a world where you're interdependent. You have to engage others. You can't be on a confrontationist, death to USA, death to Israel. You can't wipe out a country by supporting Hamas all the time. No. You've not done redevelopment with your axis of resistance. You've not invested in education in Iraq. You've not given healthcare. You've only supplied them with arms and military training, making them all the frontline your frontline force, the forward defense as they call it, against Israel. What have you achieved? Look at where you reached. This is what the people in Iran are saying. Neither Gaza nor Lebanon. I want to live for Iran. I want something for my regime to do for me. So very quickly, before I come to the bilateral point, there is a division which has not yet broken to the fore within the ruling system in Iran. The next few days, we will see that. So rather than say a regime change, we'll have to be mindful of changes within the regime where Supreme Leader is 86 years old. He's pushing 86. Can you believe it, Smita? He's not traveled out of the country since 1989 when he was president. And after becoming Supreme Leader for 47 years, He's not stepped foot out of the country.
And there were rumors last week that he's flown out to Moscow.
To Moscow, yeah.
And
yeah.
things, and then
he's
that
not
got squashed.
He's not going.
Correct,
He's not
Even
going
X, I
anywhere.
think,
Yeah.
those rumors.
He's not going anywhere. But
Yeah.
I think he's also
Information warfare is a big thing, right?
there's so much
Artificial intelligence
misinformation.
being used in every
Yeah.
way. Fake
There's
news.
so much-
Fake news with all kinds of maps that, okay, there's an aircraft which is going and it's been given free passage. So there's so much of, information warfare going on, which nobody really knows now what the truth is. Ambassador,
on,
the
on
Indian
the,
point.
on the Indian point, I believe the markets went down a couple of days ago on the 25%, especially the rice exporters.
Yes.
I believe Daawat, the big exporter of rice to Iran, I believe their prices dipped
Yeah.
by a big margin. So, Iran's main trading partners, China. So one of the American strategy is to isolate or remove China from Iran, as they did in Venezuela. The Venezuela tactic also was to isolate and take out Russian and Chinese influence in the region, like Rubio says.
Same in Iraq, same in Sudan.
This is
same
our
in
region.
Libya.
This is our
Who
hemisphere.
were the
Don't come
power
here.
there?
So, biggest trading partner China, second biggest UAE, and then we come somewhere there, third, fourth. Our trade has dropped because we stopped buying Iranian oil after the US secondary sanctions. They have two types of sanctions, main sanctions and secondary. Secondary is, even if you're not an American entity, you're trading with a sanctioned entity, we have the right to sanction you. That's the extent of American extraterritorial territoriality. So, the biggest losers will be China, UAE. Now, UAE doesn't want Iran to collapse. We're talking about that. During the last 10 years of this maximum pressure by the Americans, maximum sanctions, UAE has quietly been propping up the Iranian economy,
Yes.
offering them a little exit for financial transactions, settling. Oman is a big Oman, between the Gulf of Oman, in the Gulf of Oman, between Bandar Abbas and ports in Oman, Muscat. All these fishing boats are plying every day with loads of consumer goods and spare parts and other essentials needed. We come in there. Now, will he activate the 25%? If so, how will it help Iran? People are already in distress. Yeah, the genesis of the present.
Do they care if people are in distress?
Well, if they
Yeah.
impose.
But I think, will it stop at the 25%? That's the question. Because tomorrow they are asking the Chinese also they will impose because of Russian oil.
500%, he said.
So they will go again. So what will stop the United States from doing so? I mean, let's ask this question to the American administration. This is step by steps. Today 25, tomorrow 50, then 500.
So you tell me this, Dr. Awwad, if the rice exports, right? Rice doesn't come to their port because of the sanctions, rice won't come to their port.
But
What happens
they're a
then?
net grower
Let
of
me tell you
rice.
something.
They grow rice.
UAE and all, they get a lot of
No,
food.
no, no.
Let me tell you,
Nishan,
I mean-
they produce
Yes,
rice and
export a lot.
No,
wheat.
but
Yeah.
the symbolism that, more sanctions if you do, will that make the protesters tilt towards the regime and against America, or are they waiting for America
You think the
to take action?
Smita, you think the sanctions are meant against the government? Government living happily 24 hours, everything available. It's the people. The people, you want to destroy the middle class. The middle class people, Bazaar, when they went
The
to the
currency's
demonstration,
got- yeah.
I tell you something about Iranian. When the Bazaar goes into with the demonstration, the student, the regime toppled. The regime fall down when 1979. This time they reopen. They give a warning to the government. That is why the president came and told the hardliners, make sure, look, the Bazaar goes with the demonstrator, we are finished. So they knew. That doesn't happen. So I think, in 1979, when the revolution has come, Iraq war started, Iraq-Iran, first Gulf War. Who gave the Iraqi regime all the datas, all the function, all the arms to attack Iran? It was the United States and France and the West who built all this for the Iranian and give. Secondly, it was not only that they have given to the West. Who sold? Because Iran was totally dependent, and Ambassador will agree with me, on the American weaponry, right? So who sold to the Iranian regime, the revolutionary so-called Islamic revolution, the arm and the spare
Israel.
parts? CIA and the Israelis, and they went the Contra rebels. They went it as a Contra gate. You remember? So how do we?
And Pakistan gave them the
so
nuclear technology.
basically, the sanctions improved the 2 number ka kaam hai. Aur kuch nahi. This is what will happen.
Okay, can I just...
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll try and yank it
you
back.
studied Iran more than I have, so please go
No, I
ahead.
want to just yank it back to where, because we've gone a lot over there. Now, coming back again to the options on Trump's table over here. From what it seems like, both you gentlemen are saying that a decapitation kinetic strike as such may not be on the table, because what happens next, no one knows, and I don't think at least the American president wants to go down this route. So, in that situation, the clues are also with the way he worked with Venezuela, right? He's working with the vice president within the regime itself after kidnapping Maduro. So would something similar happen in Iran, where he works within the regime and negotiations begin again with Khamenei or someone adjacent to Khamenei in the same power structures over there, and the current regime remains as it is, protests dissipate, but a deal is achieved?
The regime has remained united. The regime, there has been no divisions or fissures which have publicly come out. They've stuck together. The IRGC is still there, the Basij is still there, the supreme leader is still there. So I think the regime is still united. We are not seeing any divisions. But will the pragmatists be able to persuade the hardliners to take a step back and do some reforms? But what reforms will they do? They don't have the money. They are under tremendous pressure economically. They have limited choices, limited options, I would say.
I think, Ambassador, do you think that now is the time when negotiations happen, where they not only talk about Iran's nuclear materials and Iran's nuclear capacity, but also its ballistic missile technology? Because that is a key anxiety for the entire region.
Israel is very worried about the BMs.
So now, I guess now that is on the table with these protests.
Yes.
So do you feel that now Iran's ballistic missile production will also be in the table, and those will be discussed with the giveaway from the West being that they'll let Khamenei and the IRGC survive?
I think
and Iran lives another day.
Can I give a point? Sorry, Ambassador, to interrupt you. I'll give you very simple. You're touching a very important question. 2004, when Colin Powell came to Syria, he came with a list of demand from the United States, and he told the President Bashar al-Assad, these are our demand, and this is my last visit to Syria. That's what you should do. We just dictate you what to do. Dismantle Hezbollah, no more arm, cut your relation with Iran, open your economy, no more support of the freedom fighters in Palestinian or Iranian or Hezbollah against Israel, and also you give us the Golan to Israel and permanently the occupied territory. Syria refused, and Syria paid the price. When they removed Saddam Hussein, American president sent his good feelers to Iran and asked for $70 billion. He said, why? So we removed Saddam Hussein for you. He said, we didn't ask you to remove Saddam Hussein. So American is a rented army. Take it from me. You pay, they do the dirty job for you. Dirty Harry. They told the NATO members. They told them the same. They said to them, why shall we fight for you? Pay us. He said it. I'm not saying. This is the American. You pay us, we do the dirty job for you. He did for the Gulf. He went invaded Iraq. He took the money from all the Gulf country. And he went to Afghanistan. He took even from Japan. Took money. So American does not do free for everybody. There's no free lunch.
Whilst with all due respect, let me push back a little bit on that. I don't think that works when Israel is in the play.
This is what I'm coming to tell you. There is, ever since the creation of Israel in the heart of the Arab world, there were two countries which were the American watchdog in the Middle East. One was Egypt and one is Iran. And the moment Israel was created, these two countries have been tarnished by Israel as the black country. It's only Israel who can be the alliance of the United States. And you want to debate on this? I can take you for 100 podcasts with Smith on this.
Ishan, one point. Let me just come in there. Trump is transactional. He says the art of the deal. I'm the deal maker. I think the Iranians are bazaris. They like a good deal. Why don't you talk? Foreign Minister Arakchi has said multiple times, we are willing to talk. So, let's talk. But we had June 12th, the 12-day war in June.
Yes.
Okay. Second, if there's one person who's been able to control Netanyahu, it's been Trump. Remember, last June he told Netanyahu, enough, back off. No more bombing of Iran. And then the ceasefire. Trump declared the ceasefire, not Netanyahu. So, even December 26th.
We know about the declaration.
I don't think there has been that much.
So, Ambassador, you spend time over there. So, tell me what the middle ground is. Because, see, President Trump has painted himself in a corner now.
True.
no action would also mean that he's...
You've misled the people of Iran. You've got hope.
How
Help is coming your way.
How ethical is this? You've misled the people of Iran. They're going on the streets hoping American bombers will come overhead and save them. But they're going into a meat grinder.
But can I ask you this question?
Ethical,
Tell me,
Trump and ethics is an oxymoron.
This question, I want to ask you a question. Will you accept the American come and kill your citizens?
Of course not.
Who is the patriot person he wanted to bring the American and Israeli to kill? No one wanted that. Remember, when they killed the scientists in Iran, they killed hundreds of them because they wanted to kill one nuclear scientist. So I don't think any Iranian will accept this kind of bombing, except those who have been taught by the American and they are in the street because of the Mossad. They have already captured many cells of the Mossad. They have shown it to the foreign dignitaries, the ambassadors. They have shown them that they are using gun, and it is shown on videos. It's not that they are acting. And they told their government, go and tell your government, stop supporting the street. I'm not with the regime. Again, I come back to you on this. It's very important to understand the mentality of what America and the West want from Iran and what the Iranian want. Tomorrow, if Iran cut relation with Palestine, open embassy of Israel, dismantle its ballistic missile and the nuclear deal, still the American and Israel want to attack.
Your take?
No, the middle ground. Middle ground is very difficult to say. We are right in the middle of the situation. We saw a peak. It's still continuing. It may ebb off in a couple of days, or it may peak again. It may spike again. In the background, a couple of things have happened. One, the US has restationed bombers, strategic bombers in Diego Garcia.
Yeah.
Remember last June, midnight hammer, the bombers flew from Diego Garcia, which protected the GCC countries, because Iran has said if any attack originates on Iranian territory from GCC, we consider those places
Their
legitimate
allies,
targets.
American allies.
And legitimate targets. We can bomb
okay.
you. So that didn't happen. The GCC did not permit, they did not even give overflight clearance for the Americans. They all came from Diego Garcia, bombed and went back.
No, they also came from Middle America. The B-2s flew overhead and did it.
From which airspace?
B-2 bombers flew from America, refueled overhead, bombed Fordo, and kept going. They kept
over
going.
the Gulf? No, they came from Diego Garcia.
I tell you something.
No, they came from Middle America.
Correct. Middle America, but they came from over the...
In air
refueling.
Yeah, I think it was a 24-hour or
Yes,
26
they kept
hour.
flying.
But they come to Pakistan.
But
Precisely. My point being...
So that option remains. Trump has made it clear. How is it going to help the people?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. Second, you've already let them down by saying we'll help you.
Ambassador, 1 second. First of all, does Trump like this though? He likes nice, clean operations. Venezuela was an example. What he did with the bombings in Nigeria, he bombed people. So he likes these quick, decisive.
Everybody wants clean wars, but it doesn't happen like that.
But he's always he came on a plank of
Sindoor.
Yeah.
It was a clean one.
But it doesn't necessarily happen. Like
But this is my point exactly. So
we come back.
Would he want this, and what is the out for him, so that he gets a win and gets out?
The out is what Rubio said, which is we should explore non-kinetic options. I think that gives an opening, but does Trump take advice from his advisors? Unlikely. Okay, right. So we have bombers placed, a threat hanging on, a military of kinetic action on Iran. So what are your targets? Last time you had nuclear sites. What are you going to hit now?
Ballistic missile production.
The ballistic missile production facilities are in tatters. They don't have spares. They're running out of fuel. It is still their most potent.
Or do you hit where Khamenei is?
I think
Khamenei's compound is in the heart of Tehran.
I think the inside story is they are producing more than 150 ballistic missiles a month.
He's not living there anymore.
No, go on. Let's say what you said.
They're producing ballistic missiles.
But does he hit Khamenei or any other IRGC leadership?
I would look at yet another option, which is talk, engage, and get some changes within the regime rather than a regime change. So I maintain that.
Can India help with that?
Well, I heard Arakchi was supposed to come to Delhi.
It was cancelled.
And then it was deferred or cancelled. In fact, it was supposed to be here tomorrow. And I thought that would be a messaging. But given our relations with the Americans right now, what messages can you carry to the Americans on behalf of the Iranians, which the Omanis and the Qataris and the Saudis are not already doing?
Attacking Iran, are we talking of the revolution because it will meet the demand of the revolutionary in the street of Iran, that they wanted to destroy Iran ballistic missile? That's not on the agenda. That's an American agenda. The more important, which is nobody is talking about, and that's my fear, that any invasion, any attack on Iran has to take a military invasion and boot on the ground. And that does not happen unless and until the American have enough with the Israelis forces they have been creating in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Azerbaijan, and northern Iraq Kurdistan area. These are the area the most vulnerable where the Iranian can fear these things to happen. And my instinct telling me that the American pampering Pakistan has something to do with the Iran at the first place. Remember this and think about it. What the American wanted is to have forces moved in. Otherwise, the regime, because they have reached to a stage, and I think Ambassador will agree with me, that you cannot finish the regime from outside. Attacking from the sky does not finish.
But they've always used Pakistan as a listening post for Iran.
No, but see, Pakistan,
But
remember,
this is more than that.
they sold themselves.
Afghanistan.
Even
More
the
for-
defense
more for
minister said
Afghanistan.
we were for 40 years with the CIA because of Afghanistan, because of the Taliban, and they have sold themselves. So I am afraid, which it will be a disaster and a suicidal for Pakistan to take that step, allowing the American to attack through
You
the
know,
President Trump
although-
in his interview to CBS recently said that we will give economic help to the protesters. How do you foresee that happening?
How will he do that? You know, Trump keeps making these statements, you know, that which puts everybody in an awkward situation. By threatening to bomb, you're now exposed your hand. Wanting to talk, you've swung the other way. You know, you made an interesting point about you know, if they talk, what will they talk about? And really, the Iranians have exhausted all their cards. They should have talked much earlier. They kept insisting that zero enrichment is a red line. They've lost all enrichment capacity. That's what the reports are. They don't have enrichment capacity. So by negotiating on a non-negotiable, you've actually
Weakened your position. Yes.
Now you've exposed your ballistic missiles. That is the only weapon you have, given how weak your armed forces are. They have no conventional, they don't have jet fighters. They only have ballistic missiles, which they used against Israel and against the Al Udeid air base in Qatar. They
But
don't
they
have anything.
succeeded despite the American and the Iron Dome
You
that
know,
they penetrated even 10% of the most sophisticated
I think
arm in the world.
on Israel there were some good strikes. Israel, there were some
Precisely.
good strikes.
So-
Not just good strikes, Israel ran out of missiles.
They begged for a ceasefire.
That's why Trump intervened. If Trump had not intervened,
Yes.
Israel would have been.
So, Ambassador, this is where I push back a little bit, and I'm going with what Waiel Saab also had said. Enrichment again. You talked about enrichment. There are reports that Iran had already moved that nuclear material when the blasts in Fordo, Isfahan, Natanz happened.
Okay, you move 400 kgs of 60% enriched. How much do you need for a warhead?
You have to go up to 91, 92?
90.
Yeah.
So 400 will give you how much? Now, you don't have the capacities because they've all been bombed out. For Natanz is out, Fordo is out. Isfahan is the fuel enrichment plant.
Right.
What will you do? Oh, there are talks about some deep embedding somewhere. There's some mountain place somewhere. It's a very large country. You can put away 400 kgs. But Arakchi somewhere let out that the damage was quite substantial.
Then why has Netanyahu for the last 4 months since that essentially made it seem as if the job hasn't been completed?
He's been doing it for 15 years plus. Netanyahu's been on the Iran.
Netanyahu will be more than happy to carry a ballistic missile in his own airplane, throw it at the American and tell them that the Iranian technology reached the United States. Please take on them. That's what he said.
Dr. Awwad, we talked about the nuclear situation. You have sources in Iran. Are you hearing that there are any cracks in the clergy, cracks in the bureaucracy, cracks in any of the systems out there saying that we got to stop this and we've got to talk to America?
They wanted to talk to the American. But Israel is not entrusting of letting this topic to happen because there is a danger now. Israel war doctrine have changed, Smita, after the 7th of October. They wanted no country around it in the area can harm or hurt the Israelis because of their expansionist plan. You know the greater Israel they talk about. They talk it from Euphrates to Nile, including Sinai Peninsula, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, 1/3 of Saudi Arabia. That's their greater Israel. And they wanted to accommodate it. So this integration of these countries are very much on the card.
So
Netanyahu,
what is happening
why?
in Iran? Yeah.
Iran is nothing going to happen at the moment. The government will go for
Are
the
they
reforms.
united?
They are.
Is the clergy united with the ruling
There is a
classes?
difference. They
They are not united.
they are not united. I said there are hardcore. There are moderators. There is the parliament also. There are the bazaar, which is not happy with some of the economic policy they have taken by the government. Everything is, and the replacement of the inheritor of Khamenei, who will be
So
replacing him.
is there hope for peace if they are disunited or if they are united?
They will be standing for the people. I'm 100% sure they have to address. The Americans are doing a palliative treatment for the Iranian. They will continue with the sanction till Iran collapse on the time to come. The time has not come. America will not spare Iran, strong Iran in this region. Trust me on this. They will attack now or tomorrow. Now you ask a question.
I've been hearing this for 25 years.
So it will go for 40 years. What's the hurry? Israel has to cement its occupation of Syria. They have already taken 650 square kilometers of Syria. The whole of the south of Syrian Three province is under Israeli control. You have the south of Lebanon till the Litani River. They are taking. They want to dismantle the Popular Front of Iraq. They are already doing it. So I think they have to first establish their strength, then they will go to Iran. But remember, I think the important part, what India is, we talk too much about but what India is, the major stakeholder is India in this, by the way, in the region. And a part of the fact that Indian subcontinent was divided for 1947, India was a natural extension into the West Asia and Iran. So you have a strong civilization link between you two. So tomorrow you have the food security at risk, you have the oil security at risk, you have the diaspora at risk. India has to take a proactive role to ensure there is no war break in this region. And if that is the Indian position, India has to tell to the American and tell to the rest of the world that we don't want a war. Because 9 million Indians living in the Gulf country, for God's sake, what will happen? A catastrophe.
That's a window for you. Will India step up? That's a window to you.
We're in the same boat as the Saudis as well.
Yeah, I think we'll preserve our interests. Delhi will decide.
Which is what?
Which is to preserve Chabahar operations.
Yes.
Promote the North-South transport corridor, and trade. Because rice, pharma, and other non-sanctioned items are exported to Iran. I think we have to maintain that. And
Chabahar dead on arrival?
I will not say that. There was a carve-out for Chabahar.
What happens to that then?
We fought very hard with the Americans to preserve Chabahar for Afghanistan also. There's an opening for Afghanistan. Instead of Pakistan, they'll be using Chabahar. I would say we were able to persuade the Americans on Chabahar to give it a carve-out and let it be. That will be about to expire soon.
Yeah, there was a 6-month carve-out.
Yeah, 6-month carve-out. So we can do work with the Americans, but who is willing to listen? That's the problem. We are having a presidency and administration where policy is made out in the public. You declare policy, you announce 25%. You've announced 500%. How are you going to do 500%? Is it practical? Now, to your question, there are divisions in the leadership, in the system, but these are still cleverly masked. It's all happening behind closed doors. And there is a moderate faction which has said, what have we achieved? You lost your axis of resistance. You lost your forward defense strategy. You lost your influence in Syria, in Lebanon. You've left nothing. You've lost your enrichment capacity. You've got into wars which you need not have. So the hardliners are now also on the back foot. Will the supreme leader be compromising enough, which is not shown ever in the past? He's been uncompromising because he feels one concession will lead on to multiple other concessions. He's not willing to compromise. All or nothing approach. So how will they now reconcile their differences? I think somewhere within the Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani, a very pragmatic person, heads that, close friend of India. The IRGC lost their top leadership last June. Let's not forget that. Artesh, everybody was wiped out. They've lost influence in the region. If they had kept quiet, not gone on a confrontationist approach with the Americans, they would today be sitting pretty. Well, they've lost everything.
They're also changing their war doctrine. They are maybe go for a preemptive strike like the Israelis if their existence is a danger. I think
Iran has been a reactive power. Iran has always been a reactive.
Let me give it in a lighter note.
You say Iran will go for preemptive strike?
Yes.
No, but Iran has always been a reactive power.
That is good because they always wait for retaliation. This time they are changing their perception. But why the Iranian carpet are so beautiful? I want to ask you this question.
Iranian?
Carpets. So beautiful. Why?
Because they're complex.
The Tabrizi.
And that is the people.
So
the
this is
people
what-
are as
that
complex.
is
If you
the-
can understand a carpet, you can
You
understand
know,
an Iranian.
the knitting of the Iranian carpet take years.
Yes.
So is the foreign policy of Iran. So I
So are the
understand the
people.
civilization of Iran so much so that they are very deep civilized and they know how to maneuver, how to come out of the crisis.
You know, one thing I want to see, you must be monitoring American media also. You know, when Operation Sindoor happened, the entire world talked about Indian media being so much in bed with the country's ruling establishment and saying that there was, that Operation Sindoor was something where it was like Indian media was not fair, it was not right, it was not giving the truth. The American media is baying for blood in Iran.
Can you
They
believe it?
are, all of them are like, do it now. This is so
But there's
odd.
also a very loud independent
2003.
podcast.
So let
I
me,
mean, we
let
are
me
looking at a
I think
replay of
you raised a very
2003.
important point. By the way, major American newspaper were aware of the Venezuelan action by President Trump. They didn't say anything about it.
They didn't talk
They
about
didn't
it.
even
New York
mention.
Times.
Yeah.
You're right.
New York Times.
Yeah,
Washington
nobody's
Post,
calling them
everybody-
Godi media.
Oh, that's. You know what? I think. Let me answer you a very simple question. You trusted the American too much. I'll leave it there.
When you say you mean India.
You trusted the American too much. You remember this from me. I am living in India. I am more desi than you. I lived in this country longer than my own country. You trusted the American too much.
Aren't the Iranians going to egging on Trump when they hang this protester Soltani?
They will not stop. Iranian doing their own decision, own making. They have been carrying on. Well, they will never. Don't revoke the Iranian. Don't instigate them. Iranian are they're very patient. If they love the person, they love him to death.
To death.
If they hate him, he hate him out of his heart. And that is why the Iranian like you to be trusted allies that you can be unaccountable for. America have never been a trusted ally for the Iranian. What they have done during the Shah, what they have done to Mossadegh is not a promoting democracy, is ruining the country, and they know that their existence at risk, not only because of the current clergy and power, because Iranian itself is in danger. And America, remember, have a phobia for the big countries. They want to disintegrate. If maybe Iran today, maybe India tomorrow, God forbidden, God knows. But I tell you, ask any American strategist, he will tell you that we don't like big countries.
You spent time in Iran. Do you agree with Dr. Awwad, who says that that the Iranian people don't push them too much because then you can't get them to the negotiating table? Is that the case? Is that happening? And also the second question I want to know is that every time these protests are happening, they're leaderless protests. Is that why the ruling establishment in Iran is able to curb this completely?
Full disclosure, I spent 2 tours in Iran, so there's a bit of bias, a personal liking, living there, mingling with the people. I can speak a little bit of Farsi, great comfort in traveling, wonderful people. And, till 1947 we were neighbors. They remember that. There are gurudwaras there. There was a large...
I've been to one of the
prospering,
gurudwaras where Dr. Manmohan Singh's wife
correct,
had gone there.
in Tehran.
So
they still let us fly the Khalsa flag. Nobody else is allowed. We can do it. There's an Armenian church. There are synagogues. It's an absolute delightful people, wonderful country. But they are very easy to spark, and they love you to death.
Yes,
Yeah, what hosts? I mean, you go to any Iranian home, even in the remotest parts of the country. When I traveled, they give you a warm cup of tea with almonds and dates, and you're treated with great love. But if you push them, that's why I say they are reactive. This preemptive strike which the Iranians are threatening, I think is much more rhetorical. It's not actual.
And my question about the leaderless protests.
Well, that's always been the case,
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's why that they fizzle out?
Well, also the ability of the security forces to put them down quickly is restricted because they are geographically spread. They are leaderless because any potential threat to the system, any potential challenger has been eliminated or put under house arrest. Khatami is under house arrest. Mir Hussain Mousavi is out of the country. So, any moderate faction which can... Rafsanjani, well, that's a conspiracy
That's long
theory.
back.
Yeah. It's a conspiracy theory
Yeah.
about Rafsanjani. So I think they prefer leaderless. They prefer disorganized. There is no organization. It's just instinct. People just pour out into the streets.
But these Gen Z protests in other countries have been successful in toppling regimes.
Because there
Will
was an
not happen.
alternative.
I tell you why.
There was an alternative.
Somebody-
Nepal, you appointed a judge to do the interim government. Bangladesh, you had an interim government, and we see what's happening there. And that's a different story. But Iran, there's nobody. So when you say divisions within the system, and I say that it's still taking place, debates may be taking place behind closed doors, I mean it. So there are divisions because some of the clergy feel, why are we into politics? We should not be there.
Yeah.
But Khomeini instituted this concept of Vilayat-e-Faqih.
What is that?
Ruler of the spiritual
and leading
leader, spiritual leader
of
who will
Islamic
lay down
revolution. Then they changed their doctrine.
Okay. Do you agree with this? That about what he said about the leaderless protests? It's
I think because there is no agenda. The problem is you are not able to create a person there in the country who can carry on. And that is one of my answer to you and to the rest of the world. Then there is no American embassy, there is no alternative leader anywhere. Because coup are coverted operation by the CIA have done in 83 countries over the
So when Trump
1947.
is saying help is on its way, when President Trump is saying help is on its way, does he mean today, tomorrow? What do the
He's sending
Iranians
economic
think?
help or he's sending bomb into Iran? I mean, this is very strange. I don't know what sort of help you want to bomb me and you give me food. Why didn't you do it for Gaza, for God's sake? If you are so much a humanitarian of saving humanity.
If he's removed, if he's out there, decapitation strike by America, say for example, what are the options for the Iranian people? Who will they rally behind? Will it be Raza Pahlavi? Will it be IRGC? Someone in the IRGC? Will it be someone within the clerical class? Or will it be someone in the Iranian army?
It has to be someone in the Iranian system. I would include all of them, all the institutions you've identified. Why not a president? Why not from the civil side?
There are two.
Because how the system works.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have a supreme leader who is unelected and is supreme power. He is the ultimate authority with no accountability. There's a president who is democratically elected. Whatever you may say, Iranians have elections. There's a turnout.
Yeah.
There are polling booths. People go out and cast their vote. Some people do not go and cast their vote. But there is elections which take place, which is unusual in the region. You get a president, you have a majlis, an assembly where debates take place. Ministers are called in for discussions. So you have an institutional framework. Removing the supreme leader will not happen, my view. Not going to happen. Unless he moderates his position and gets into negotiations, we will find a semblance of calmness.
But there's a lot of media reports, sir, that say that it's just a matter of time before Reza Pahlavi is placed out there. Khamenei is
Which
taken
media
out.
reports?
American media.
American
Yeah,
media.
so you're now promoting,
But I'm not promoting.
No.
I'm just quoting.
The Americans are promoting.
No, but
a
the
certain-
assumption is that a violent strike will take out the supreme leader. And
But
then what happens?
But the
then I
institutions
tell you-
will remain.
Let me tell you something.
Institutions
Sorry,
remain.
the supreme leader have named 4 successors. None of them is his son. So even if he removed, there are 4 successors of his supreme leadership. And supreme leadership is being renewed, his position every 6 months by the parliament, by the government. The government has different rule. He may have the upper hand in many decisions, but he will, the ultimatum, he is the ultimatum for the government, but democracy does exist, the system does exist in Iran. And remember, Iranian Revolutionary Guard have not gone to the street as yet to control the crowd.
No,
just
they have
leave
in
to the-
some places.
And
Some
where there is a
provinces,
gun, where is
some
the shot, I've
provinces,
seen it. I've seen the YouTube, I know the families are there, I know the relatives are there, I understand. But it's not to that large scale. Remember, it is limited to small cities, small villages. The main cities are out. The bazaar is out.
They're already exhausted, probably, with the protests. Is that the case?
No, it's
No, I
widespread.
think-
This
I
is the
think-
largest protest in
I think
Iran, by the way.
protests have
Largest.
All the districts.
Maybe calming down in
How
some
many
of
districts?
them.
29 districts.
29 or 31, I forget
And they're
exactly.
they're all impacted by these protests.
Yeah.
Protest in
nationwide.
the sense that they wanted the economic...
Not so much in southeast. Sistan, Baluchistan is unusually not seen that much protest because the Friday prayer leader of Sistan, Baluchistan is very powerful, and he gave a call that there should not be any agitation.
There were also, so the counterpoint to all these protesters there were visuals of, the policemen being dragged and beaten up. And the Iranian sort of regime also called in ambassadors from all these countries and showed another point of the protests which were getting more and more violent. Now, tell me, when you have these protests, counter-protests, what's the current situation? Because we also saw visuals of Khamenei protesters out there as well, against the protesters chanting death to the Ayatollah.
Yeah.
So where do we stand here?
Or to start with your latter point, we have seen this in the past as a counter to popular anti-regime, anti-establishment demonstrations. The establishment rallies its own pro-regime supporters, which is not a majority, but it's a substantial minority. And they come out in processions on the streets to take the streets back from the protesters. There are motorcycle rallies. There are a whole lot of people who come out chanting, "Long live Rabbar," the supreme
Ayatollah.
leader. Supreme leader. On the former point, being an ancient country, the streets are narrow, except the modern highways and expressways. Like we have gullies and mohallas, they also have, kuches and, areas. These are very narrow. Not always easy for the security forces to penetrate and take control of the street. So they do lose control of the street for some time. They take it back, but by the time the protest takes place in another part of the city, so they get stretched thin.
Like the Arab Spring, the
Arab
Egypt one,
Spring. Ya bolte hai, Persian Spring bol rahe hain. They're saying it's a Persian Spring.
Same kind of a thing.
So and there are elements who, they don't have weapons. They knife and attack
Gets violent.
drag the policemen out of their car. So reports are there have also been fatalities in the security forces, but not in the number of the civilian side.
Okay.
With the new technology and artificial intelligence, we can expect any country to be troubled with Trump in power. So we don't know, unpredictable scenario we are living in.
And also because there's no social media, so nobody really knows what
what's
is a complete
happening.
blackout and no communication. Forget social media. The relatives sitting in Europe are unable to speak with the people in
They
Iran.
cut the internet for two reasons. They show you this is of course
Today
it's
it's
a
5 days since
hard difficulty for people to communicate. But remember, most of the sleeping cell that been active in the street with guns and shooting the people are instigated and using the technology. Even Elon Musk have given them a free satellite internet to communicate. So therefore, there has a reason for this, and definitely the internet will come back to Iran. They cannot cut it. It is a temporary position. I know because we are daily in touch with everybody in Iran, in different cities, with the families and all. We understand. But the problem, as I say, I am for the Iranian, pro-Iranian, but I want the Iranian to take the decision on their own hand. No foreign intervention should change any regime anywhere in the world.
See, Reza Pahlavi has been promoted assiduously by some sections of the US establishment, but not by all.
I agree.
If you remember, in the
Right.
beginning, there was much more warmth. President Trump said he's a nice person or something.
But still hasn't met
has
him.
not met him. And again, there's been a kind of, step back by the Americans. The Iranian polity is very fractious. We have to give it to Supreme Leader Khamenei to be able to balance so much of, disunity within the system. They're all competing all the time. They're quite, argumentative. They debate.
Well, they promoted the Venezuelan opposition, and he said, I don't like him. I don't like the opposition. The
But Master,
American ruling now.
when the Shah was in power, we didn't have great relations with Iran.
He
India did not.
He was anti.
So how is Reza Pahlavi towards India?
No idea.
No idea
No
as
idea,
yet.
no idea,
Right.
no.
So now, suppose in the scenario that he comes, he is put out there. If Reza Pahlavi is placed out there, is there still going to be bipartisan support in Iran for India?
Of course. I think we have moved way ahead. We have moved way beyond the Shah period. The India-Iran relationship now stands on its own.
Okay.
There is no constituency in Iran which says we don't want to have good relations with India. They have a policy of look east, and they say when we look east, the first country which comes to us is India.
What about that gully in the middle? Nobody wants to talk about that illegitimate piece of land in the center.
But
I
आपने
think-
जो बोला था ना about Reza Pahlavi, I mean, if
He
he
has-
comes in, he's an American
he
puppet.
has
He'll have
no
to follow what the
popularity.
Americans are
That's a
saying.
very- that's a good
Let's
point,
get
you
a
know.
final point from
He has no
from Dr. Awwad, and
popularity.
we can continue.
Smita, I think what you should have in the next podcast, a real discussion on the true civilization in the world they come together. Is it India and Iran? And it is China. These are the countries where I know that you may not like China so much in this civilizational dialogue, But civilizational dialogue will expose those who are saying that they are the psychologically saying that they are civilized. They are not civilized. A civilization is existing 300 years with bloodshed and taking the Aboriginal is not a civilization. That you are existing as a civilization is at risk.
Well, Saab, how could you talk
I'm
about
not
that as
talking
China?
of the conspiracy
true
theory.
inheritors of Chinese legacy are sitting in Taiwan. You have book burners with the communists. So I don't know about the legacy part of China. That's a big conversation.
I believe in the Dharma of India that they have spread even the Buddhism in China, and I hope that Buddhism will prevail and keep peace in this the subcontinent, especially between the two giants of Asia.
It's the biggest
I
loss
think
for
we'll
India.
let you go. We'll continue with your conversation, just wrapping points. But Dr. Awwad has to go.
Thank you.
So with the promise that you're coming back when you write your book and you're done with your book.
Definitely, and I would like to end with the one small note. I wish you will discuss also what India can learn lesson from the Iranian crisis, from the Arab Spring, and from Venezuela. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, Iran also is a civilization.
Of course, Iran is
great history, deep, long history, and a very proud people. It's not easy just to ignore their demands or their needs or their
and then
desires.
they demand, not just expect, they demand to be respected as a civilizational people. And they don't like it. I was just listening.
Zoroastrianism and some of the most ancient religions.
And they often say, talk to us with respect. That's always the case. And if you go to a shop, you remember, you've been there.
Yeah, I've been there.
There's so much of taruf which goes on, the first couple of minutes is only meant on greeting each other. Then they come to the hardcore business, and those.
It's like the Japanese.
Completely agree, but I just had to push back against Waiel Saab saying that the CCP are the inheritors of Chinese legacy. I had to push back against that.
No, that's fine. Ambassador, as we wind up, I just want to ask you about the economy, completely crippled. How do you see this going forward now? I mean, what kind of help will they need, and how long can the protests sustain with the kind of economic situation?
You'll be surprised that the economy, not all sectors of the economy are crippled. Some sectors of the economy are crippled, which are mostly import dependent because of the US sanctions and US secondary sanctions. They have a sustainable agriculture system. They produce all their dairy. They manufacture cement, all construction materials, including large amounts of steel. If you study what's on the US sanctions list, those are all the thriving sectors of the Iranian economy. They produce phosphorus for fertilizer, bitumen, and they have a thriving trade with the UAE, with Iraq, with Armenia, and till some time back with Afghanistan.
Now and they won't be able to do that.
Now they won't be able to do that. Particularly with Afghanistan, because they keep having the issues over the Taliban and the Hazara Shias in the western part of Afghanistan bordering Iran. So there are sectors of the economy which are damaged because by US sanctions. And what has happened is you've promoted a thriving black market. You've killed the private sector because by sanctions, because the private sector cannot operate in a system where there's no banking. You have no access to the SWIFT settlement process. So you're dependent on transactions from Istanbul and Dubai and other neighbors, Baghdad and these places. That's where your currency comes in. Who controls the borders?
Yeah.
And those controllers are benefiting.
Right.
So if you were to ease off on the sanctions, because sanctions has been weaponized and overused. What success have you had with sanctions? Limited success. You've said 25%, 50%.
But there's been no relook at that sanctions regime. Not from Europe, not from America, that it's not worked. So then why continue with the sanctions and cripple a people?
Cripple your relations with multiple countries. I mean, that's why you're pushing countries to look at the BRICS unit, the de-dollarization process, which
would not have happened.
Would not have happened if this was the case. And if India had not been pushed away, India was the one within the BRICS which was holding back on the unit, trying to slow down the process. It was inevitable, but to slow it down. So Iran has trade with all its neighbors. It's a very thriving business community. It's a very thriving tech-savvy youth. As Dr. Waiel said, 65% is young, aspirational like our youth, finding no options, no future. So there's despair. So you don't need an organization to be coming out onto the streets just to, vent your
It's angst yourself, yeah.
your anxiety,
Final question.
your frustrations, and then they go back. So we are at a tipping point. I will really be watching these next 72 hours very carefully. Which way will it go? And within this time, if a kinetic action takes place, then it may just not help. It may not be helpful. We have given a travel advisory, so we've been much more cautious, and we are typically
What does that mean, travel advisory?
Well,
Nothing.
we have 3,000 plus people
Yeah,
in
so now
Iran.
it's
We're
going to
telling
just
them,
mean sending Air India again.
well,
to
how
bring
much
the-
traffic is there between
Yeah.
India and Iran anyway? So yeah, so we typically we are cautious, and we don't get into these issues. Do keep in mind, Russia and Iran are neighbors by maritime, Caspian Sea. There is a lot of trade, given the limitation of the depth and the size of the barges. There's a lot of trade which Russia uses to.
But does Russia have the bandwidth now to get involved in this another
No.
mess?
So they'll be watching the situation.
Okay.
They'll be watching. See, you've lost Syria. Russian influence in Syria has gone down.
Yeah.
Not eliminated. It's gone down. Next, you're going to lose influence in Iran, which has supplied you drones.
You've lost in
during
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
So China also will
China
be watching
has lost
carefully.
influence in
and
Venezuela.
Iran exports 2 million barrels
And
per day.
Greenland is out there up for grabs, which was very interesting. He said, I just saw, I think it was a CBS interview, I don't know which one, in which Trump said that, what does Denmark think that they can come in a boat and take an entire country? And somebody remind him how America was,
No, but
they came in a boat.
Some Greenlanders have come out and said, we don't want to join the US. We are happy being with Denmark.
And who's asking them, right? But yeah, I mean, it's not a referendum out
So there's
there.
a 2 million barrel production per day that will upset the energy markets.
Yes. Prices can
And
spike.
China is the biggest buyer of that energy, despite US sanctions. But they do it on a barter system. And they've negotiate very hard, harder than the Iranians, to get the oil discounted even more. So I think Moscow and Beijing will also be looking at developments carefully. Will they be supportive of a Reza Pahlavi imposition who will be parachuted into the country? And internally, will the institutions accept such an imposition? Like you mentioned once,
Right.
a puppet.
Yes.
They'll see him as an American
They'll
puppet.
see him, that's what I thought.
Will he be an interim, a transition figure? I don't think he'll want to be that.
He's not going to be a Muhammad Yunus. But he
he
could be a Karzai for all you know.
Or a Chalabi.
Or a Chalabi.
Chalabi failed completely.
Yeah. He could be any of these.
Any of these.
Yeah.
But those are countries where the institutions are not as robust and durable as in Iran. We have to keep that in mind.
Also-
Whatever, for all our criticism, you can still go and speak to the Ministry of Agriculture on pest control. There's a robust network of institutions, research scholars who are studying pests. And telling us, don't import your wheat because your wheat has a pest. We don't want it infecting our crops. It's a very sophisticated
So
society.
you don't see, finally, you don't see any kinetic action happening from the US, even though American media is talking about it. Like the next 48 hours is what they are saying.
I'm on the fence on that.
You're on the fence
I'm
on
on the fence on that because if yes, what are your objectives and what are your stated outcomes? Okay. If no, then we'll look at the Marco Rubio approach of non-kinetic options. So that's how we'll have to see. But we'll have to hope for the best in a very important country in the region.
Right.
Stability there is, we are neighbors. It's so important for the country, for the people of Iran. That's all of us in the neighborhood who work there. The Gulf countries, the Indians, we have deep ties with the Iranians.
And what about Iranian oil? Will it be used as a negotiating ploy as well if there's a deal to be struck with Trump? I mean, this is not like Venezuelan oil.
Yeah.
Iranian light is
much
actually
valued.
the marketability of that
Yeah,
oil
it's
is
much valued.
very valuable.
Yeah.
So do you think that would be one of the negotiation tools as well that Iran has up its
Not
sleeve?
as much, because you see, US fracking has done a great bit of penetration into the market. And the Saudis have scaled back production. And they can always ramp up production to keep prices at a stable level. But Iranian oil, if it comes back into the market, will be helpful for the global economy. In a situation of such turmoil and fissures where everyone is getting into bilateral deals and transactions, I would welcome Iranian oil, because to keep in mind, two of our refiners are engineered for processing Iranian light.
Yes.
And if we get that light back, trade will go up. And if you remember last time what the Iranians did, they parked all their revenues due from India in our banks.
Yes, correct.
And then they said, okay, we'll buy from you and you keep settling the account with us. That's how much they trust us. You know, who will leave a couple of billions of dollars in another country's banks and say, you keep it